Welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about how to center elements in WebDigital. So this is something that's frequently needed. As an example, we have a block over here, and that covers most of the page, and we have an image element, and we want to center it within the block. So how do we do that? There's actually multiple ways of doing it, and we're going to be starting with the most common way, which is the margins, and that's the one that's built into the UI. So if you go into the child element and you say, I want to center this, you will see that it's working, at least horizontally, it's working fine. So let's take a look at how that's working. The system basically does this, center auto margins, and so it sets the left and right margins to auto, and that's about it. So that basically keeps it here. And when the parent is block and the child is block as well, that works fine. If the child is inline, it doesn't work. So it's not always very reliable. It depends on what the child's display is. The parent's display also matters. If the child is if you set the vertical margins to auto as well, with the block layout, it just doesn't work. But if you set it to flex or grid, then that works as well. So you can use the auto margins that way to center an element within flex and grid parents like that. Now, if you don't want to set the auto margin on the child, so we have other methods over here. Let's just clear these. So the parent, in this case, we can make it flex, and you can see that by default it stretches out. But we can set it to center, justify content center, align item center, and that's the most common way of centering an element. Flex, you just set the parent styles basically. You just say flex, center, center, and it's going to be centering it. And it's the same thing for grid. Justify content, align items, center, it's going to be doing the same thing. So that is the recommended way. That's the easiest way. Now, there are a couple of other more obscure ways. Let's just go over them. They're more old school or case dependent. So sometimes you can't use the flex layout and you have to use the block layout for whatever reason. Really, it can happen. And what we're going to do here is we're going to be using the position. So we're going to set the parent position relative, the child position absolute. And I'm going to set the top 50%, left 50%. As you can see, it is centering it, but it's centering the top left corner. So we actually have to bring the image into the correct position from there. And we're going to be doing that with the transform. So there is a translate function over here. We can set minus 50% for the move X, and for the Y, we can set to 50% as well. Let me just fix the units over here. And yeah, you can see we can center it that way as well. And so the parent is relative position, the child is absolute positioned, and it's centered that way. So that's another option. All right, so the last one is inline styling, basically. So if we have a parent that's block and the child that's inline, that's typically how that's used. Typically used for centering text. So if you go to the parent and you set the align center, so sorry, let's just we need to remove the position over here. Yeah, so you can see when we set the parent align center, it's going to be centering the child because this is inline element, so it's going to be centering it. But it's not going to be putting it vertically. There is a style here called vertical align, but it really depends on the other children of the parent as well as what the line height is. So it may be tricky to get it working. It's not always easy to understand why it's not working. But if you want, you can always go to the parent and set the display to table cell. So when you set it to table cell, the vertical line is going to be available there as well. And when you set it to middle, that's going to be centering the child as well. And but with the table cell, it may be difficult to determine what the exact width should be. So you may need to give static width. So it may not always be desirable to do that. But the most common ways, like I said, the margins, auto margins, and flex and grid. So those are the bread and butter of CSS design. Thank you very much for watching.